Guys, I'm talking here and you weren't listening to me. I'm so sorry. My Zoom was resetted, so I forgot to unmute. I'm so sorry. Welcome everyone. Thank God I didn't actually say that much. All right, so you didn't miss much of my monologue here, okay? But I was just saying that I would like you to wait just one more minute, at max 2 more minutes, so that everyone can join us. All right. So we have a line of people waiting to join, and I don't like to start before everyone who was waiting beforehand joined us. Okay. So let's just wait 1 more minute. Thank you so much, Williams, too, for letting me know. I forgot that I was on mute. Welcome, everyone. So today we're going to talk about automations. All right. Hopefully, you're excited. We are not going to focus on AI today, which is a little bit different from what we've discussed before. Actually, we have organized already a masterclass on AI agents that was at the beginning of the month of March. All right. So if you're interested in getting that class, remember it's all free. That class is available in our Pipefy Academy. So that is already included in your Pipefy plan. As long as you're a Pipefy user, you have access to our Pipefy Academy. And in that academy, we have all of the master classes that we have already organized and hosted. Okay, so our AI agents masterclass is already over there. And if you cannot find the link, just let me know. All right. Perfect, Kai. I'm going to send it to you. Okay. And if you perhaps don't receive, I believe you will receive because I already have your email. Okay, Kai. But I will also leave my email address here in the chat. Okay. So this is helpful, useful to everyone. All right. My email address is in the chat right now. So if you have any questions about the product, if you would like access to these classes, or of course, any other question, just hit me up, just send me an email. If I am not the correct person to answer your question, I will forward you to the person who is. All right? Perfect, Kai. Kai is very expert on her Portuguese. I love this. We have Portuguese here as well. All right, everyone. Thank you for waiting. I believe everyone has joined us already, but if you would like to send the link to anyone from your team, you are welcome to do so. Okay. But I will soon explain our rules here for the webinar. All right. For those who don't know me, my name is Fernanda. I am the global product trainer here at Pipefy. So most of you that I've seen here, I do recognize a lot of names. So you already know who I am. You are basically tired of hearing me speak, of hearing me teach, but hopefully it was already useful at some point. So now we're going to talk about automations, all right? And this is why I am the key person for you to ask if you have any questions about the product. And again, if it's something more advanced or if it's something, for example, that I cannot fix regarding the product, I will forward it to the correct person, okay? Let's do this. So just letting you know about this format that we have here in the webinar because we do have some new people joining us today, all right? You can use the Q&A button here in your Zoom screen, all right? So that you can send us questions, again, about anything. Preferably about automations, about Pipefy automations, but you can send us questions about anything that you want, about the product, about your plan, about your account manager, for example, and I will do my best to answer them, all right? We have a short Q&A session at the end of this class, but if I cannot answer all questions during this live class, I will answer it later, all right, through the email. Our chat is also open, but the reason why we ask you to send your questions through the Q&A button is that it's the only place that it's being recorded, you could say. It's being kept. So after the class, I can consult the questions that you sent through the Q&A button in case I hadn't answered them in the class, all right? And of course, this class is also being recorded as long as also like it will be record it right after this. We will end the recording and I will already forward it to you. Okay. But it is being kept at our Pipefy Academy. So I will forward you the link through the email because all of you who have subscribed to the class already are assigned to receiving this recording after the class, but it is available in our Pipefy Academy. Okay. Again, you don't have to pay extra for it. It's within your plan to access this academy. And the good thing is that you can also get a certificate for each class that you take. Okay, so this class is about like 50 minutes long, right? Because I'm going to stay here teaching you about automations for 50 minutes, and you can watch this class later if you want to go back to any other particular topic or automation that I covered here. You can also send it to your colleagues or other departments, and you can get a certificate so that you can show your leader, you can show your department, you can even take pride on that yourself, that you spent this time learning a little bit more about Pipefy and how our platform can help you make your processes more aligned. It can help automatize everything that you need to. Okay. I will be drinking a lot of water today, guys. The air is quite dry here. All right, let's get to what we're going to talk about. So, like I said, our focus won't be on AI. So I will cover AI agents very quickly, but my main focus here today will be other automations, okay? Basically the logic of automations and the possibilities that we have with events and actions. But before we get to that, I want to talk about Pipefy objectives, okay? Within our platform, we have a lot of possibilities to help you with your operation. And our main objectives are to increase that team efficiency by eliminating manual and repetitive tasks and giving autonomy to non-technical teams. Okay, I gave this exact masterclass yesterday to our Brazilian customers, and I said something that inspired a few people that I couldn't have imagined they would do that. So I will say here as well. I am not a technical person. I came from a communications background. I have a bachelor's in social communication, and I was very into technology, but I was not quite a tech savvy person. And when I joined Pipefy, I used to be a customer success manager for global companies. And when I joined, I didn't know much of the company. That was like 4 or 5 years ago, right? But I didn't know much about the product. About the company, I did know, but not the product. And I learned very quickly and very efficiently just by support materials that we had at Pipefy, just by exploring Pipefy and basically driving myself into that adoption mentality of Pipefy. I used to explore different use cases, different solutions, and I became an expert of our Pipefy product within a few months. And that actually helped a lot of people who wanted to learn more about Pipefy, but were afraid that they did not have that technical like expertise that they thought they needed, right? With Pipefy, you don't need that. So Pipefy is a low to no code tool, right? And what I'm going to show you here today is basically no code. I will be talking a little bit about a low code possibility, which is our HTTP request automation that involves integration. So when you integrate Pipefy with a different software, that includes a little bit of code. However, it's nothing like out of the ordinary. It's completely easy to understand. We even have an article showing you a lot of examples on how to do so, okay? But our main focus here today will be of no code at all automations, right? And that was very empowering to me because I thought I didn't have the ability to do automations like this when I joined Pipefy. And now I am teaching integrations, automations, low to no code solutions to customers, right? So it's very intuitive, and you will see that as long as you explore Pipefy, as long as you test and try, and it will be very easy to come up with solutions and to automatize your processes. All right. And what I wanted to show you is that now Pipefy is an agents platform. So we have our business rules, we have our automations, we have our proprietary data, we have outside systems, outside integrations, like I mentioned. And now we've added a layer of cognitive reasoning, which is how we transform our workflow into intelligent workflows. Okay. So I cannot talk about automations without mentioning our agents, all right? However, that's not all that we have. That's not all that Pipefy provides. We have a lot of different automations that can even be used like in companion with agents, right? It can be used alongside agents to help you with your solutions, okay? So I have this screenshot here just to guide me, all right? But we will get to the main thing that you all want to see, which is the product, right? So here we have an example, right, of a pipe. We have here a reimbursement process, okay? And let's go to automation so that we can explore first the logic, then we will get into, let me delete this because I want to show you the creation in itself, okay? This one is offline, but I can show you later as well. So after I get to the logic, I will talk a little bit about our events and then our actions, all right? And in the meantime, you can send us questions here in the Q&A button, all right? So here on the left side, we have the events, okay? So this is the first thing that needs to happen so that you can set up your automation. Basically, the event is what triggers the automation. And on the right side, we have our actions. The actions will be the consequence, what happens after the event, right? This is all very important so that you realize we have different knowledge levels here at the webinar, okay? So we have people who are still in the basic level of Pipefy, who are just getting to know a little bit about automations, and we have more advanced levels as well, who want to explore integrations, for example, okay? So in our events, we already have some news. We already have new features here, all right? Guys, just so that you are all aware, none of you can show your face or open your microphones in the webinar, all right? So, I don't think you were able to see my screen. Just one second. So if you want to send any questions, just do it in the Q&A button, all right? Please. But I think it was something wrong with the screen. I think most of you couldn't see. One second. But I am showing the product. I don't think you missed much. I'm just showing the automation side, okay? Can you see now? Again, I can't follow you always through the chat, okay? So that's why the Q&A is also helpful. I believe you can see it now. Perfect. So basically, this is what I am going to cover, okay? So this is the process I'm going to cover. And in automations, we have here, like I said, the left side of events and the right side of actions, all right? And we already have some news, which is where I left off. We have a new event here, okay? This is in beta, all right? That means that the feature is not completely ready, all right? So it will be available it will be available for all orgs soon, okay? But not yet. So I believe some of you may already have access to this particular event, some of you perhaps not. So if some of you do not have access to it yet, I will make sure that by the end of the week, you can all test it, all right? So basically, the new event that we have is when an interfaces button is clicked. Like I said, this is in beta, so it's not ready yet. We want to develop this more. We want to be more specific in regards to which interface, to which button will be clicked. But for now, this is very generalized to any interfaces button that is clicked. We will be able to create an AI agent and make an HTTP request, okay? Soon, all of these other actions will be available as well. But for now, only these two, okay? So it's very good that you test and send that feedback to us, okay? And regarding the other events, I want to explain a little bit more about conditions, okay? So that can be a little tricky for some of you to understand, especially those who are new at Pipefy, new at using the product, because we have specific names for these specific features, right? Within our phases or within our start form, for example, we have the field conditionals. The field conditionals only work for one thing. Actually, I should say for two things, to hide and to show fields. So, for example, if I have a field of reason for reimbursement and I put home office, travel, therapy, and I put an option other, that means that home office, travel, and therapy are the most common reasons for reimbursement. But the other means that there are still other possibilities that are not as common. So you could show a field of which other reason for reimbursement. And you could show that field only if the person clicks on other. You wouldn't need to show that field for people who select home office or travel or so on. All right. So the conditionals work for that, they work for showing or hiding certain fields. Automations work for basically everything, right? So we create new automations so that based on a specific event, an action can happen. And inside each automation, we have, let me select any event here, it doesn't matter at the moment. We have our conditions, right? I do understand that's confusing. It's also confusing in Portuguese, all right? So conditionals, field conditionals are for showing or hiding fields. We even have received a question about this on our email, all right? And we have our conditions. And those happen inside of the automation. Those need to be established inside of each automation, all right? What would be those conditions? What I'm establishing here is that every time a card is created, I will, for example, send an email template, okay? I could select something that's ready here, or I could create a new one, all right? That won't matter at the moment. Let's suppose that I want to send an email template to myself or to my manager or to an analyst that I am the leadership of. Doesn't matter. But every time that the card is created, that email will be sent. Now, let's imagine that the only scenario that I actually need to receive this email is when, let's say here, it's when the total value of the receipts is greater than $100, right? So it is one email that I will receive regarding the creation of this reimbursement request, right? But I do need to see every single request that is greater, that is over $100, right? I might not apply this condition if it doesn't matter to me. I use this example because let's say that I receive a lot of emails, and to me it doesn't matter to specify if the total amount, if the total value is over $100 or under $100. If it is under $100, I might just ignore that email. It's no worry if I receive it. However, if it's over $100, then I do need to receive it, right? And what happens if I don't have this condition? If I just erase it and don't follow it, if it's just plain and simple, card is created, I receive the email, then I am spending more automation jobs with an unnecessary action. I do not need all of these emails. I only need the emails for over 100. And that happens a lot, okay? So this is a very valuable tip that I'm giving you. If you want to be more specific, more aware of the automation jobs that you're spending, then make sure that the scenario is exactly as you want it, okay? So you will apply the condition that you want. The total value could be less than a certain number here. The date of issue could be this week, right? So if it is in last week or last month or last year, then I won't receive the email because this specific condition won't be applied in this automation, okay? This is a logic that I really wanted to cover with you guys because, like I said, it's a valuable tip, okay? So that you could all follow it exactly to what you have been using the automation for, all right? Let's do this. Let's do another example now. And what I showed you before, I think you could all be, you weren't able to see my screen, is this screenshot here, okay? So this screenshot shows 4 of our new actions. Let's remember, at the left here, we have our events. At the right, we have our actions, right? So I wanted to focus on 4 of our main and new actions that we have. I'm going to talk about task. I'm going to talk about running a formula. I'm going to talk about HTTP request, and I'm going to talk about SLA rules, okay? I can cover a little bit of other ones here if you have any questions about it, but I will focus on these main ones here, all right? So let's use any example here. Let's use when a card answers a specific phase. Just 1 second, okay? I will talk a little bit about AI agents, like I mentioned, okay? So basically, if you choose any event, almost any event, okay, you can have the option to select the action, create an AI agent, all right? And in this agent, you can write a prompt. In this prompt, you will select dynamic fields, okay? Now, prompts, I think you are already used to, okay? Because we all use ChatGPT, for example, we use different AIs, and we know that there are particular tips and recommendations to write a prompt, okay? We have a course on artificial intelligence in our Pipefy Academy, right? So if you just click on the link that I will send you for this class, you will already be forwarded to that website, but I can show you here as well. It's pipefy.com/academy, all right? And here we have a lot of courses. And the second one that it's focused here, it's artificial intelligence. In this particular class, this course, I'm sorry, also free, okay? Everything in this academy is free. You have one section of a lot of classes, like 5 classes, about prompts, about specific methods that you can use to write a prompt. So that is very useful, okay? And within your prompt, you need to select the dynamic field, which is basically the field that the AI will think of, that the AI will study, okay, that the AI will analyze inside of this prompt, okay? It means that when we use the term dynamic fields, it's just because the field will change. I mean, the value of the field, the feeling, right? The thing that is written on the field will change according to the card. So for example, if we ask a name in each card, it will be a different name. So that's why it's dynamic, okay? We have the option already to use skills in which, for example, you can add documents or pipe data so that your AI can have that knowledge in the back of its mind, you could say, to take into account when applying this AI. And here we have the fields to return the results. So that's the difference between the dynamic fields that the AI will analyze. Here we have an explanation. It's the input fields that will be used by the agent to generate results. And the results will be the fields that the AI will fill out, that the AI will complete. And this is where you select, okay? And we have a lot of very cool use cases, not only in the course, we have it in our YouTube page. If you want any tips on specific use cases for AI agents, you can send me an email as well. All right. So let's do an example here. Let's, like I said, choose any event, okay? And I've already covered a little bit about the AI agent action, okay? Now let's talk about the send a task action. This is quite new, okay? Here you can say a task title and who should receive the task, all right? The task title and who should receive, we have here the dynamic field. So we can use informations of the card to add it to the title, okay? For example, the requester name, we can use here a specific value, right? We can have different informations here in this specific field, right? Guys, I need 1 second, and I'll be right back. 1 second. I'm back. Sorry. All right, let's do this. And the who should receive task, then you can add here an email, okay? This cannot be a assignee field. This needs to be an email field to be completed, all right? It can even be dynamic if you have that field, or it needs to be a set email, for example, my own, okay? This is very similar to when we established the to and from email of an email template, right? Ideally, you will use a field in that card because the email can change. But if the task is always to the same person, you can also use the set fixed email, okay? Now, it's important for me to remind you actually of what is a task, okay? So let's go here to, let me just copy this. Let's leave of automations. And I'm sure all of you are aware of what a start form is, of what our phases are, right? But our task just means that we need to send an information for someone to answer. We need to assign a task to someone, right? And that happens when we have a card on a specific phase and we need to complete certain fields. So for example, Michael Jones is in the approval phase and we need to send this particular form to someone else so that that person can approve or not, for example, right? So when we have this particular card here, we can click the share phase form button, okay? So that's the difference. The start form is what we fill out before the card is created. It's how we create the request, right? And the phase form is basically the information, the fields of that phase that needs to be completed. We can enable this, and then we will have a link of this particular phase form, and it can be public. You can send it to whoever you want. This is the task, right? If I send this to my manager, to my analyst, then of course the person will be attributed this task, okay? This could be done manually, right? Or this could be done by email. So within our email templates, let me create a new one here. Like I said, we can have the from name, from email to email. We have a lot of information here, but within the content of the email, we have the option to add task link, right? If we click on this button here, we have this blue box. This blue box means that the current phase link of this card will be sent to the person. So this was the only way that we could automatize the task or automate the task, right? So we would establish an automation that when something happened, when the card entered a phase or when a card was created, for example, we would send the email template and the person would only receive the task through the email, right? We would also have an issue with this link because if you notice here, let me open another tab so I can show you here here, Michael Jones, right? Here, this isn't the exact link, but it's similar, okay? So the link that the person would receive through email used to be this long, okay? And it's not a very good customer experience or user experience as a whole, okay? So if you would send this link, it wouldn't be as like perfectly as it should be, okay? The ideal scenario is you could, for example, create an email of click here, 1 second, to access the task, for example, okay? And ideally, you would have the link like inside of this text, right? I'm about to teach you a hack that we have here at Pipefy. This is low code. This is very low code because it's an email code. It's an HTML code, okay, for emails. But basically what we have here is you can click here. Let's go back to our visual editor. We have a lot of options here in the content of the email. At the very end, we have this option here, which is the code, okay? So what we have here at the top is that blue box. So that contains the face public link, right, of that particular card. So you could copy this, okay, copy it, go back to the visual editor, and click on the text that you want to insert that link, that you want to be the new link, right, the title of the link. So here you could select the link option that's right next to the image option. And in URL, you would just paste that card current face public link option, okay? And of course, the text to display is here. Once you save that, it's all good to go. This is a hack. This is a hidden feature in Pipefy, and it saves you the trouble of having a ugly link, a very long, unnecessarily long link, okay? So this was how you were able to send the task automatically. But now you can do so with this automation, okay? Also, something that I want you to understand is that the task will be set with the face SLA, okay? So basically I think we've received a question here on SLA, okay? Let me just read it 1 second because I believe it might be useful for this moment. 1 second. Okay, sorry, we're good to go. Sorry, guys, I closed the video accidentally. I just wanted to close the audio because it's a little bit loud, but I think we've solved it. I think we're good to go. And the question was basically what I was going to cover here, okay? But it was a very long question, so hopefully I'll be able to help you. I'm receiving questions through the email as well, okay? So you can send it in the Q&A or you can send it in my email. We have 3 different kinds of SLA here at Pipefy, okay? The task will follow the SLA of the phase because like we mentioned, we're simply sharing the current phase form, okay? So basically what we have here is the SLA of the card. We have an SLA of each phase and we have the SLA of the whole pipe, okay? Now, when we're talking about the SLA of the card is basically the due date here, all right? So the due date establishes a specific SLA, a specific deadline for your card. You need to have this particular field, or of course, inside of each pipe here, you have the option to add a due date as well. It doesn't necessarily need to be a particular field, okay? For the phase, which is what is applicable in this case to our task scenario, we have in advanced options, okay? So we go on a specific phase, in this case, AI analysis, but it can be in any other phase. We have advanced options, and each phase can have a different SLA. Here, the late alert is basically the deadline. So we have the time, you can put any number here, and we have the unit in minutes, in hours, and in days, okay? If it is a month, you could use 30 or 31 days. If it is a year, you could use 365. That is applicable to your scenario, okay? And of course, if we're talking about the SLA of an entire process, then it's in pipe settings, okay? And in pipe settings, you can use here the expired alert. Again, you can have that freedom with the time and the unit, but this will be applied to the whole process, applied to every card and applied to every phase as well. Okay, so basically the task will follow that. Okay, I will go back to SLA soon because we're going to talk about that on our last automation action. Okay. Now, most of these, I believe you were already able to explore, right? Move a card, update a card or a record field, create a connected card or record, right? It's important for me to let you know that if you have an automation regarding connections, for example, if you're going to connect one pipe to another pipe or one pipe to a database, then if you're going to establish an automation, you need to make sure that everything that you needed to do for this connection is already set. So here, for example, if you're going to update a card or record field in a specific connected pipe or database, you need first to have that connection created. In this case, I don't have that. So it's not even possible for me to create the automation, okay? For connections, we're going to have another masterclass by the middle of the year so that we can talk about this. All right, early Q2, I believe we're going to have that masterclass. But you first need to establish a connection here, okay? And you, depending on the case, you also need to create a connection field, okay? So here you have the pipe connection field and the database connection field as well. After these two specific scenarios that you need to establish, you can create those other automations, okay? But now we're going to talk about the main ones that I wanted to cover, okay? Let's talk about a formula. 1 second, guys. All right, so what I wanted to show you is that, like I said, I'm not a tech savvy person and I'm also not a math person. I hated formulas, but I do understand the value of this particular automation action. Okay. Like I also said, I used to be a customer success manager here at Pipefy, and I used to have customers who dreamed about this particular action inside of automations. We used to have very complicated integrations so that we could perform a simple calculation inside of a card, right? We used to have an integration that was Pipefy within Pipefy. It was a little crazy. That one was not as difficult, but we also used different softwares so that we could, for example, add or subtract values. Okay, so when this came about, that was very important for all of us, not only inside of Pipefy, but especially to our customers. And I wanted to show you a hidden tip that we have inside of this particular action. Okay. So inside of this blue button here, I'm sure that you already are aware, based on even what I've explained earlier in this masterclass, this is our dynamic field, right? But before we can actually see our dynamic fields here, we have some options of formulas, okay? So for example, we have here the option of sum. So this follows an Excel format, okay? This is basically making my life easier because I've already established that I want a sum. So between these boxes here, I will just put my dynamic fields, right? Between the parentheses, I mean. So here I can put, for example, value of receipt 1, comma, and right after the comma, I can add value of receipt 2. So what I'm asking the automation to do is to sum these two values. And right after, right below it, I have the destination field, which is basically the formula result to the field. So value of receipt 1 plus value of receipt 2 will equal which field here? In this case, total value of expense receipts, right? Now, one very important question that I do receive a lot: which kinds of fields are accepted inside a formula? At the moment, numeric ones and even text ones, but those are two very more complex formulas, okay? I will give a spoiler that I also gave to our Brazilian class yesterday. We are about to launch a new course, okay? Don't ask me when. It will be at the beginning of Q2, that I'm sure of, okay? That will be a lot more advanced than the content that we already have. Okay, so basically it will be low code. It will be about integrations, and it will also be about formulas. And it won't be about a simple formula of sum, of subtract, of multiply or divide. It will be a lot more complex formulas that can be applied to this specific automation. All right, but let's just stick to our more simpler ones at the moment. Okay. Let's select a phase here. Actually, I will select a different kind of action because I wanted to show to you guys and I want it to be a little easier. So let's do that again. The sum of value 1, and let's put the comma here, value 2, and the total value being the destination field, okay? Let's create this example. Perfect. Now we're going to create a new request. None of these are mandatory, but let me just put my name here. So let's suppose the value of receipt 1 is $40 and the value of receipt 2 is $50, okay? And we're going to add a new request. I'm only performing this live so that I could show you that hidden gem, okay? It wouldn't be very useful if I didn't show you it actually happening, okay? So remember, what we used in that automation was the Excel format of sum, right? And we separated the fields with the comma, okay? So we already have the automation at work here. It's 90, right? 40 plus 50, okay? Let's delete this card. In automation, remember, I used the Excel format. I could also do this differently, and this is the hidden gem, okay? Instead of copying or using this particular format that Pipefy is offering me, I can simply select here, value of receipt 1, add the plus sign, and the dynamic field of value of receipt 2. It will be the exact same thing. Okay, so that is the exact same scenario. All right, we can save the automation. Now, I'm using here an example of plus. It could be of minus for subtract. It could be a slash for divide. Okay, so in our course, we will explain you ways that we can differentiate that. Okay, and what's even more incredible is that I can use, for example, value of receipt 1 plus 2 plus 10 plus 10% plus 100. I can use this fixed numbers, right? So they would be like, for example, plus 100 or 10%, right? And it will be applied here to our destination field. So it doesn't need to be only dynamic fields. We can have set values as well. And that is why we can use our basically our keyboard to help us here, right? It doesn't need to be that fixed formula for Excel, okay? I didn't save it, I think. I'm pretty sure I didn't. Okay, perfect. So we can create a new one here, and I can show you that it also worked, okay? $40 and 50. But we can use this formula to a lot of different fields. Like I said, at the moment, focus on numeric fields, okay? So values, monetary values, numeric items, for example, time, dates, okay? All of that is possible. We have a lot of use cases for this, actually. Let me just show you here. 90, right? So 40 plus 50, again, the same result, and we use different kinds of formulas for the same objective, all right? Let's go back to automation. So we can have a lot of different use cases for this, okay? In this case, I'm using the process of a reimbursement request, right? But this can be used, for example, for a vacation request. And I have, for example, I could have a date of when my vacation days would start and of how many days I would be out of office. And for example, if my vacation started at April 1st and I had 10 days of vacation days, we would have a field to return the results, and the Pipefy automation would simply sum that. It would simply add that, right? So 1st of April plus 10 days, it could be, for example, April 11th, right? So that could be a very helpful use case. You could be used for compensation as well, for bonuses for employees. We have many, many examples, all right? So I'm pretty sure that course will be very helpful, not only to our more advanced customers, but for those who want to learn a little bit more about the possibilities of formulas as well, okay? So guys, you can leave your questions here in the Q&A, or you can send us through the email, all right? I'm seeing another one here regarding what I'm going to show soon, okay? I think now, let's do this because I do like the question, okay? So the other option that we have here is to make an HTTP request, okay? Now I do want to remind you that every time that we have this label here of beta, then that means that this feature is not completely launched yet. Okay, it means that you're a very special customer that is being like you're having this access early, right? Earlier than most of our customers. Okay, so if you don't have any of those features, let us know that we will make this available for you. But we are very interested in also hearing your feedbacks, okay? When we develop a feature, we try to understand most of our use cases as we possibly can, but within all of our Pipefy customers, it's a for sure fact that you will use this in a different way than we had imagined, in a different use case that we had imagined. So any feedback is very valuable, okay? And so this make an HTTP request option, it's also in beta, okay? Now, this particular option is very valuable for those who want to integrate Pipefy with an external software, with another software, and don't want to actually use our integrations, okay? It depends, of course, on the software. Some softwares you might need the integration, okay? But in some other cases, you might not. So one of the main use cases that we have for HTTP requests is Slack, okay? Now, I'm not sure if we have those less tech-savvy people here at the moment, but when I first saw this, I almost freaked out because I had no idea what method meant, authentication, header value, JSON, request body. That was just a lot of possibilities for me. That was a lot of information, a lot of technical terms as well. But we developed a lot of articles to help you with this, okay? So for those who already are aware of it, it's a magical automation, okay? So if you have all of those informations here, you could connect it to Slack, you could connect it to WhatsApp, you could connect it to other tools. But for those who are not all actually aware of those possibilities, let me give you a tip. Let's just go help.pipefy.com. I'm sorry you had to see Portuguese. You just need to change at the top of here to Portuguese do Brasil to English, right? From Portuguese to Brazil to English, and then you could also change it to Spanish, okay? And here you will go directly on help.pipefy.com, okay? And here you can search for articles. So the only thing that you need to do, of course, you could search about anything, but just type here HTTP, okay? And we have examples of HTTP requests, okay, with our Pipefy automations. We also have a setup guide on how you can create those integrations. But in examples, we have here, for example, using a Slack channel, how to send a message to a Slack channel from Pipefy, okay? That used to be only available through integrations. And I assure you, it used to be a lot more difficult than an HTTP request. Okay, so an HTTP request, like I said, it's low code, but we have the step-by-step here. So basically, you would just need to copy and paste. You wouldn't need to actually understand what's going on. But if you follow our steps, then the only thing that you do need to understand is the trigger in Pipefy, and of course, what will happen in the Slack channel, for example, okay? So we also have here step by step on what you would need to do in Slack, not only in Pipefy, okay? And hopefully we could have other examples to you coming as well. But if you want any particular help with a HTTP request, let us know, okay? And we could, our support team or even myself could help you with that, okay? Now this is very interesting because, for example, let's say that I do want to send a Slack channel, Slack message, right, to a channel in Slack, for example, when something happens in Pipefy, right? What we told you here, oops, here, is how to send a message to Slack from Pipefy, right? Not necessarily when something happens in Pipefy. So here we're establishing the following. Something needs to happen inside of Pipefy, so we could send this request to Slack, for example. It's basically asking Slack if we could connect. We're asking to follow Slack, right? So whenever a card enters a particular phase, I want to make this request to Slack, okay? And what if I want to make sure that something happens in Pipefy after this request is made? So if that message is being sent to Slack, what if I want something in Pipefy to happen after that message is received in Slack? Then I do have that option within my events. If you could see here, that is our second newest event in Pipefy, the newest being the interfaces button. Okay, so this is the second newest. Whenever a response is received from an HTTP request. So if that response is received through Slack, then we can perform any other events here at Pipefy, any other actions, okay? But this is only available if you have that automation with an HTTP request, right? That this is only possible if you've already been able to make an HTTP request, okay? So let us know if you also want a masterclass specific to that, okay? So before I get to another two questions I believe that we have, let me show you the final action that we have here. Let's say when a card is created, we're going to apply SLA rules, which is why I left this particular tab open, okay? I mentioned that we have 3 different SLAs. And when I got into the pipe settings, I told you that we have here the alert for the whole process, the whole pipe, right? And right beneath here, we have the option to enable these base SLA alerts based on business days, okay? So Monday to Friday. We also have the option to base it on like following days, including the weekend. So Monday to Monday, right? This option doesn't require automation. I can simply enable or disable this, okay? But as soon as we launch this feature here to actually allow the SLA to be counted from Monday to Friday, the first question that we received from our customers was, what about our holidays? And Pipefy has a lot of different customers. We have customers in Brazil, we have customers all over the world. And of course, each country or each state or each city even has different holidays. In fact, even different companies have different holidays as well. Or different companies could have different different times that they work, different days that they want to work, that they want to count on SLAs. So that is possible today through our automation, okay? So you can establish any trigger and you could apply these SLA rules. You could consider each day of the week. You could consider even Saturday and Sunday, all right? You could consider here a specific time in each day, period of time, and of course, following a specific time zone as well, okay? And you could add holidays, okay? So the holidays here, you could have a name, you could have a date, and you could have the frequency, if it only happens once or if it happens annually, for example. Of course, then you would need a due date field to consider this SLA, to consider this deadline, right? And of course, you could add a specific alert to it as well. Okay, so this option is actually also one of the newest actions that we have in automation, and it's very applicable. So when you want to consider deadlines in different days or different times or different holidays, okay? So basically, that is what I wanted to cover today, guys. Hopefully you were able to understand the full grasp of our automations. I hope you are aware that we have a lot more to talk about. I cannot cover everything about automations in 1 hour, but hopefully I can get more of these master classes to you. Let us know if you want any particular subject that you want to learn about, and we could organize a class specific on that. Okay. Let me send my email again because we had a lot on the chat today. We had some things go wrong along with like the audio and the screen sharing. So perhaps we missed my email. All right. So I send it in the chat. It's fernanda.cunha. So that's a very Brazilian name at pipefy.com. Okay. You could copy it and send me your questions. All right. In any language. My Spanish is not perfect, but I could try to answer you and perhaps forward you to the correct person as well. Okay. Um, we have a question in terms of pricing of the AI. Okay. So the AI in Pipefy is only basically, we do have the AI assistants. So let me go back here to the homepage. We have the AI assistant that is outside of any pipe, that is within the organization. And we also have the AI builder that is also within the organization to actually help build pipes, right? So these two AIs, at the moment, they're not being charged. You can use them for free, all right? But what we are being charged for, what you are being charged for is if you use our AI agents, okay? So I've just clicked on a different pipe here, but it's in English, all right? When you create an automation and you can use, like I said, any trigger and you create an AI agent, then you're using AI credits. Okay. So if you want to learn more about this pricing, also send me an email and I will forward you to the correct person, to our product marketing specialist, for example, and he could explain and even provide you with very specific like packets of particular usage, so you could have more ability to use these agents throughout the month or throughout 6 months. So we have special conditions as well. Okay, just send me that email and I can help you with that. All right, guys. Last few minutes, do you have any other questions? I do have one interesting here in our email. So let's go back here to our automations. It was a specific automation that I didn't cover, so I do find it interesting to mention in this last minute. We can use, like I said, different triggers here. The alert is very interesting because if you want to use the alert for an SLA that you apply here, so for a holiday, for example, you would need two automations, right? So let's say that whenever the card is created, you want to apply the specific SLA rule to it, okay? And if that deadline is reached, then you could use this alert. And in this case, it would be the card or overdue, right? So because we use the due date in the SLA automation. So whenever that alert is triggered, then, for example, you could create an agent, right? So this is a very helpful use case to use agents. We have one possibility in which an agent cannot be created directly, for example, the recurring activity, right? But you could use, for example, a recurring activity every 30 minutes, every hour, every day, every week, every month, right? So every time that this date, whatever it is set, you could, for example, create a card, or you could move a card to a specific phase. And then you could use that as the trigger. So whenever the card enters the phase or whenever the card is created, you could then create an AI agent, all right? So even if you're not able to use the AI agent with a specific event, you could use another event here based on what happened beforehand and then use the AI agent, okay? All right, everyone. I see a question here in the chat. I need to enter a default price value, but in currency from the form. I'm not sure I understand your question, Williams, but do need to wrap up. So, Williams, I think I have your email. I think we've chatted already. But can you send me more details regarding your questions? Perhaps I can help you, right? So I think that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Hopefully, I can see you later with our next master classes, but you will receive an email from me with the recording of this class. All right? Have a great rest of your day. Hope you get to use more of our automations. Bye bye, guys.